Greetings guys and a warm welcome. Hey Gemini, this is your March reading for 2019. We will be using 3 different decks of cards, 4 cards from each deck, and they will be laid across rows, and then we could be reading down the columns as well. It all depends which way the cards come and how the flow seems to feel. Now I have been doing some shuffling for you beforehand. And also, if you can hear the very loud clicking noise coming from the background, that is the cicadas outside. It is sort of peak cicada season here, and I live on a property with many trees. So let's start shuffling these for you for Gemini for March. March is the changeover season on the planet, the changeover month of seasons. We go from summer here in the southern hemisphere to autumn, and in the northern you go from winter to spring. So sometimes we can find tumultuous weather with these changes, and sometimes that also affects humans as well. Now I believe we are having a really big supermoon in February, and it's supposedly the closest one to Earth for the year, although they seem to say this more and more often now, so I'm not quite sure who to fully believe. But February's supermoon could bring with it some really strong feelings, emotions and changes as well. And it also could bring some weather events globally around the world. But let's just focus on you guys for Gemini for March 2019. Still wanting to shuffle. They really wanted to jumble themselves up. I hope you can see my shuffling. Your first card, Gemini, is the Death card, and I think someone else had that as their first card. It might have been Capricorn. I'm not entirely sure if I can remember. Your second card is the Tower card, so 2 major arcanas in a row and 2 big ones in a row. Your third card is the 3 of Swords, and your fourth card is the 2 of Wands. So we will now take this deck, which is a fairy tarot deck. It is exactly the same style. It is a tarot deck, so it has exactly the same cards in it. And I will be interested to see what turns up in this row in comparison to those ones that have been drawn. So this is for Gemini for March for 2019. We'll just see what comes out of this deck. These are bigger cards, so they're more difficult to shuffle. So let's take a little bit of time here. Gemini for March, what is it you would like to confer? These cards really, I guess, are clarifying cards, as are the next ones in the cards that we will use as well. One more. Okay. So the first card is the 9 of Swords. The second card is the 10 of Pentacles. The third card is the 6 of Cups, and the fourth card is the 2 of Cups. So they didn't repeat themselves over, slightly different ones that turned up in that second row. Let us see what we have here in the angels or pixies and fairies for Gemini. These are a Doreen Virtue deck, as are these ones here. This is for Gemini for March 2018. Goodbye to the old, hello to the new. Well, there's something in that, in your whole reading right from the beginning with the Death card and the Tower up there. It seems as though it could be a fairly full month for you guys. There's definitely something about moving from one dynamical perspective. You know, when you get 2 cards like Death and the Tower together, and even the 3 of Swords, they indicate a massive change at many different levels. So we will work through the reading and see how we go with it. Still got 3 cards to come. New home, easy does it, and vegetarian. So just give me a little bit of a moment here to decide which way I'm going to read these cards, whether I'm going to read across the column, across the rows, or down the columns. I actually think it's going to be down the columns, I think is how it's talking to me most. So yeah, we will start with this first column on the left. So starting in this left-hand column with the Death card, it's a very powerful card for you guys to have started the month off. And as I said at the beginning, before we even dealt the cards, this month coming for March can be a tumultuous month because it's the changeover energies in the whole planet. And some of us are more sensitive to that than others. And sometimes events that occur, whether it be weather related or geographical or emotionally related, they can have a role in how we are affected as well. So the Death card generally heralds the letting go of something, saying goodbye to something, moving in a new direction, finding a new awareness. Now this could be many different perspectives, which is why I wasn't sure whether to read across the rows or down the columns. But if we think of death as saying goodbye to something, for some of you, this could be saying goodbye to a health issue that you may have had. Some of you could be finding that you are moving into a new era of change in health. It could be change in relationships. It could be change in jobs or careers. It could also be, for some of you, an example is right down here, a new home. This card is also reiterating goodbye to the old, hello to the new. So you're getting plenty of messages in this reading that are talking about new directions, new changes, new awareness, new events, new happenings. And it's a general reading, so it's going to relate to each of you on a personal level in a different perspective. The other thing about the Death card, it can mean literally the farewelling of a belief system or something that's held you up in life. So we go through epochs of realization and understanding and growth in our life, and it's hard to say when they actually happen to us, as they'll happen individually at any different time. Sometimes they happen on and around a birthday, and sometimes the decade birthdays are more prominent for bringing this awareness or growth or understanding of change than other years. So for some of you, you may be turning into a new decade and you will start to evolve into the new you. For some of you, you may have had a degree of freedom come through the death of something, like the death of being restricted by another person, or say a family, or a religion, or a community, or a career. And this allows you the blossoming, the new blooming, like the opening of the lotus flower, to understand more about what you want and what direction you want to go. So the Death card can be taken from all of those dynamics. Now under it we have the Nine of Winter, which is the Nine of Swords. And her words for that, I might even hold it up closer for you so you can see it quite clearly. Her words, you know, it's a little bit of a gloomy picture, because this can often be referenced to things happening at night, this particular card. So it says, unfounded fear, focusing on worst case scenarios, allowing worry to grow out of proportion to the problem. So it is a commonly known card of anxiety or depression, in nervousness, nervous tension, sleeplessness, nightmares, fears at night, and the mind overworking at night. So in many ways it could be talking about needing to calm down and to relax, to take the time out to soothe any worried thoughts or fears or phobias in particular that have been leading you astray or creating undue tension or preventing you from making a move. Now sometimes when things like the Death card and the Tower card come out, they create tension for us because they're promoting change. And this change can be very scary. It can be like, oh my God, I'm not ready for it. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what to do. I don't know why I'm feeling this fear either. And so it tightens us up. It turns us back into like a prison cell again. And unless we work our way through this, as she says, unfounded fear and focusing on worst case scenarios, unless we work through this, we will be stuck in this phase for some time. So it's really, really important to be able to control your feelings around issues of deep change and you know, it's psychological. It can be psychological change, it can be emotional, traumatic, it can be physiological, can be spiritual, but it's really important to be able to work yourself through in the most logical steps applicable. And sometimes that needs help, and sometimes it needs like a counsellor or a support person or someone you can talk to, or even going to places now like YouTube, which is where you've found this video. There are so many different places that you can go to that can inspire you on ways to work through problems. So don't let any overt tensions this month hold you back from finding the new steps forward, because I have a feeling for you guys this is the beginning of, you know, a whole new avenue or a whole new direction that will take you through much of the year. It must be a bit of an apex or an epoch point for you guys in this month of March. This card at the bottom says goodbye to the old, hello to the new. It says you've finished one part of your life and now a new and even better part is beginning. And I think that justifiably is a really good way of looking at it. And she has her feet in the petals of a lotus flower. There's another one in the background sort of beginning to open. She's a beautiful angel ready to look into the future. So it is about embracing change, embracing the future and looking into the future, knowing that all life is cyclical and all events come and go and all people do as well for the most part. Some of you may find in this month that there is someone who leaves your life. Now for some of you this may be a passing over of someone, and it could be related to a heart issue, so a heart attack type event. For some of you too, there is a warning here about your heart health and to get it checked, and to be very vigilant about maintaining good heart health. Now you can do things like lowering blood pressure, lowering cholesterol levels, getting an ECG for your heart, getting some tests done, doing some exercises to increase heart health. You can eat certain foods for your heart, you can do certain exercises and meditation as well. There is a syndrome now that they're recognising called broken heart syndrome, where people actually suffer what it appears to be a heart attack due to a traumatic event such as stress or the loss of someone. And it seems to be happening more to middle-aged people, and quite often more middle-aged women. It can be a very emotional association of loss and this feeling of grief around loss or stress or trauma, which creates this broken heart syndrome. And if it is caught early enough, it can be monitored and transitioned through with the help of medication and I think counselling methods and things like that as well. So there could be some of you out there who really need the support of something like this in this month if you go through anything traumatic or stressful, and some of you might actually suffer from a broken heart syndrome. So be aware of that if it's a possibility that creeps up. It may also be someone you know that suffers from a broken heart syndrome. Now, that broken heart can come from things like losing pets, so not just losing a family member or a friend or a partner, but it can come from losing pets. It can come from financial stress. It can come from things such as going through severe earthquakes or cyclonic storms or massive storm events that damage properties, or you lose money, or anything like that as well. So just be aware in March. This is quite an intense reading, so that is why I'm taking the time to help you guys through any important pieces of information that want to be relayed back about people in your life who you might be able to support, or events that might happen to yourself as well. Let's move to the second row, which is the Tower card, and then the Ten of Pentacles, and then the New Home. So the Tower card is not dissimilar to the Death. You've got these two in the first two cards dealt, which hold quite significant impetus. Major arcanas denoting change, and sometimes sudden change, especially with the Tower. So the Tower talks about coming to understand that something wasn't founded right, it wasn't structured correctly in your life, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's your thinking process, whether it's your state of health. For each of you, again, this will be individually different. But the Tower, when the bolt of lightning hits the top of it up there, it's almost as if you get this aha moment, this epiphany of like, oh, I see it now. I realise what's wrong. This needs to be changed. I need to walk away from this. So quite often this card is a card of walking away from something. Now I have seen this card turn up when these energies come about in a workplace and also in a family. Now they can indicate sudden unexpected arguments, like tensions that just blow up out of seeming nowhere, and they can be the catalyst for unbelievably deep change. And sometimes it means severing from the people who were destabilizing events or situations. So sometimes it means you can walk away for good and never see them. Other times it's not necessarily that, but what it does mean is whatever the event that we're talking about, it will not remain the same. There will be a fundamental change around it. Now, because down the rest of the column we have the Ten of Pentacles and then the New Home, both of those are really benevolent cards, positive cards. They're talking about the home and they're talking about relationships. So let's get this Ten of Autumn and bring it up to you to have a look, because it really is rather a beautiful card, just like all of the depictions of her cards. They are so pretty to look at. And I think it's a real bonus to be able to look into a card closely, because from a reader's perspective, it's what you see in the card that gives you the insight and the information as to what you are actually getting in the terms of the messages. And I think for the people who design the cards, they feel the same. So what they're designing on the cards pertains to how they feel the card is delivering its message. So let's have a look here. Take steps to ensure the financial security of your children or other loved ones, making wise investments or planning for retirement, honouring family traditions. So there's something in here that's talking to you about being not prudent, well, maybe cautious about financial security. So maybe that Tower card up the top for some of you could relate to financial issues. Some of you may have been investing somewhere, or you might have been about to invest some money in a fraudulent scheme, or you may have been waiting for a big payout from an insurance company or from some bonds or stocks or a retirement fund, and there could be something that's not quite right. So I would check on it, I would double check on it. I don't think it's the time to pick to invest at the moment. I would be more cautious and do due diligence. It says make wise investments or planning for the retirement as well. So just be careful who you are dealing with in this instance, and make sure that your retirement funds or your family's security is really safe and well maintained or scheduled at this time. But it does talk about family harmony, this card in particular, and it does talk about things such as grandchildren, And the home, it quite often talks about the home as being a place of solitude and, you know, being able to fortify one and to be able to stabilise. So we come down to the next card and we see the new home, and it said moving is a step in the right direction for you. So some of you are literally talking or thinking about, or this whole column is instigating some activity around the home, or home relationships, or home finances, or monetary things, or retirement. It's got something to do associated with things that go on in or around your home, extended family members, shifting most definitely is a possibility for some of you, either selling a home or purchasing a new one, moving out of your current living conditions, moving in with someone new for some reason, and it could be quite sudden. It might be that you've had a fallout with someone in your home and you wish to find freedom at one level or another as well. Moving on to the next row or column, we find the Three of Swords, then the Six of Cups, then Easy Does It down the bottom. Now, we've talked briefly about that Three of Swords at the very top. I've mentioned to you about heart health, so it can mean physical heart health. And with this card down the bottom, where it says Easy Does It, that's where all that message has come from, if you like. It says stop trying so hard to control everything and all the doors will open for you. So the Easy Does It can be taken as a physical message about resting and taking some time out and relaxing, being with one, you know, being at one with nature, rebalancing yourself and re-energizing yourself with all the beautiful aspects and dynamics of nature as these cards all portray down here, possibly bodies of water as well. The other thing that it could be relating to is Easy Does It in terms of it's saying stop trying to control everything. And when we do try to control outcomes, we're trying to manifest exactly what we want in life, and more often than not we can't control another person, and we sometimes can't control the outcome of a situation, and this leads us to feel like that Nine of Winter or the Nine of Swords when we get stressed and anxious and a bit uptight. And it can also be part and parcel of the whole planning of the situations that the Death and the Tower card originate from and extend out to. So it's really important at times like this, and it's so hard to do it, and I'm probably one of the least people who is able to do this, but it's so important to try and let go and go with the flow, because it's taking you somewhere, and it's taking you in a direction that you may not be aware of and that you may not want it to go, but it's meant to happen. And that's really important to remember. If you learn to say to yourselves, oh well, this is it, this is what's happening, I've just got to go with it, and whatever it is, so that you take away the direction of something, you let it happen for whatever reason, it becomes less stressful, less important, because it's part of a cycle of wherever it is you're going. But back to the Three of Swords, it can sometimes symbolize a problematic issue in a relationship. This can be a close heart-related relationship, such as a romantic one, or one with family or siblings or good friends. There can be three people involved. So if this is romantic and there's three people involved, usually that's a bit of a problem, because it's preferably only two people involved in a romantic situation. Sometimes counselling or remedial talking or communication can help heal a rift like this. Other times this is the beginning of the end of some of these relationships, whether they be platonic or romantic. It can just be that the communication is just clashing with each other. It's just like you're tearing each other apart. There is no understanding, there's no elasticity, and there's pain involved and a bit of hurt, but nasty words being said, sorrow, and possibly affairs going on as well can happen. But you come to that middle card, which is the Six of Summer, which is the Six of Cups, and of course this is the card of love. So love could be involved. It might be that love needs to be healed in this column here, and it could be love, as I said, romantic, or it could be more family love or friend love. If we look at this card, the Six of Cups is what it is. You have these two beautiful little children here laughing and giggling and enjoying life under the shade of a beautiful tree with gorgeous flowers surrounding them. And it says children or childhood, the return of people or romances from your past, remembering events differently in a better or worse light than how they really occurred. So you can see how it can relate to emotions, this card, because it is a Cups card, and the Three of Swords, which was sitting above it, is very much an emotional card as well, and it can be about communication. And when it says here, you may be remembering events differently from how they occurred, for better or worse, it may be that this needs talking through, and this might be what is causing the pain. It could be with a very long held childhood friend, and you are somehow coming to bitter argument with them over something that may have happened in the past. Sometimes it's better to just let it go and go back to the happier perspective or the happier dynamic, or what brought you together in the first place. Ponder that and ponder the positive possibilities of the relationship. This can also be, as she said, children or childhood. So children in your life could be very important at this point in time. They may need your help. They may be worth spending time with, enjoying childlike activities like pleasure, happiness, laughter, excitement, bliss, togetherness. All of those can help alleviate any negative feelings within relationships as well, and transform them or transmute them back to positive energies. So plenty to think about as well. This can mean the reinstigation of a past love relationship, and that might also be associated one way or another with this Three of Swords up here. So some of you might be the ones that could be in a current relationship and you come across an ex-lover, and this creates tension within a current relationship. So you see there are many dynamics within these mix of cards, and it's a general reading. I'm not going to go into them too deeply, but for each of you this will, wind itself out into a different perspective. We come to this last row, we see the Two of Wands, and then we see the Two of Cups. So you've got two twos in a row, and then the message Vegetarian. Now the Two of Wands is kind of looking back over here. It's a card of creativity, but it's also a card of balance fundamentally. So the twos often mean bring balance into situations, and given that they're both underneath each other, they're doubly amplifying that message for you. So balance what's going on this month. He's also looking back across that row at the top, trying to bring balance into the Death, the Tower, and the Three of Swords, all of which are quite critically energized cards, and they have a certain degree of punch within this reading, and they seem to be leading a lot of what is happening for you in the month. I think it is a fiery reading, and I think it's a fiery month coming up, and it depends how you guys handle situations and how you handle yourselves in particular as well. The Two of Wands can also represent opportunities coming to you and choices. So I do think some of you have choices, and it could be around career-related matters, opportunities moving forward, plans and projects that may have been in the pipeline. It can also represent choices of any form of creativity in your life, as well as passion and possibly new job opportunities or new job directions. Now the Two of Cups is actually one of the most beautiful cards in the deck. It's possibly a soulmate. Sometimes it can be depicted as a twin flame relationship even. So I will pick this up and show you the picture a bit closer up, because it, again, you know, all of the depictions are so beautiful to look at. So this is the Two of Cups. This is obviously a love partnership here going on. They seem very intent on each other. She says falling in love or making a serious commitment to someone, forgiveness and the resolution of a problem. Don't give up, your relationship can be healed. So we've talked a little bit about this before. I didn't actually realise those were her words on the card about don't give up, your relationship can be healed. I've talked about that quite succinctly in mentioning this here, the Three of Swords, talking about how it can be healed, also about the use of the way you think about life and taking yourself back to a happier time within a relationship, and planning a little bit more about being easy and not controlling everything, letting go of some of the need to control. So the Two of Summer is definitely talking about this balancing things and healing for some of you, if you would like to maintain a relationship in your life rather than seeing it completely disappear. For others of you, this could be about forming a new romantic relationship, or if you haven't been in one, some of you may fall in love and or decide to make a serious commitment to a person. Sometimes this commitment doesn't have to be just a person. It may be something like a new business opportunity, and again this could be in the creative sector, and that I think of because of the Two of Wands that's in the same column. The Two of Wands can be, as I said, about creative opportunities and new proposals coming. So for some of you this can represent business sectors and propositions coming your way along those lines as well. The pictures are, they're so beautiful when you see the detail down here, like that beautiful blue butterfly sitting with all of those roses. And you know, we have just had Valentine's Day, and Valentine's energy is the energy of love. So it is, you know, really wonderful to be able to bring love into situations and opportunities and relationships for this month as well, if you can. The very last one is a final message of vegetarian. It can be a healthier lifestyle to be a vegetarian, and it says a new way of eating gives you more energy, greater health, clarity and stronger manifestation abilities. Sometimes this card can be referring to things such as herbal supplements, minerals and vitamins, things like eating the berries that you see there, also perhaps some of the flowers, changing up or adding to your diet a more positive or wholesome holistic perspective, not necessarily having to be a complete vegetarian, but adding in some of these supplements and ideas. So minerals, herbs, they can be very, very beneficial for your health. And I think for this month in particular, it does seem like a month where your health and your emotions and issues that are happening around you are fairly full on, I think would be the best way to say it. So there we are, Gemini, a big reading. It probably has taken longer than, you know, some of the others, but that's because there's more to be said, and I hope that you gain some insight from the words that have been given, and that it will help any of you through any of the various different situations that might crop up for the month. Remember to check your moon and rising sign as well, because you're bound to find some interesting information there. So thanks for listening. Please sub the channel and push the notification button, and I love it when you leave your comments too. So have a wonderful March ahead. Be safe, everyone, and remember to include much love in the month. Much love, everyone. Namaste.